The statewide attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion on Idaho's public colleges didn't just impact programs and offices on campus. Many of those were shut down late last year, but that crackdown is also extended to commencements this year. Because of those closures, there are no longer employees to help organize identity and cultural-based stoles. You know, those scarf-like accessories worn by graduates? But that's where alumni have stepped up, where schools can't anymore. Aspen Shumpert shows us what they are doing to make sure these students will still have access to cultural celebrations like these.
I'm heartbroken because I think these celebrations are more than just another graduation for grads.
For years, diversity, equity, and inclusion offices put on identity and cultural-based celebrations for students set to graduate on Idaho college campuses.
It's a time where their parents and their families and their communities that they invite can see all of the things that they did.
In response to state DEI cuts, those offices closed late last year, leaving no one at the universities to organize these celebrations.
It's a great loss.
Christina Vasquez, a 2014 University of Idaho graduate, attended such celebration that was also held in Spanish.
My family speaks Spanish. I grew up Spanish is my first language. And so I wanted them to feel like welcomed in a place that for me was home. And so I wanted them to be able to feel what I felt when I was at U of I. And so it was really important to have that bilingual, bicultural experience.
Vasquez and others with the Vandal Alumni for Equity and Justice group felt it was important to step up to still give these students, who were once part of the DEI units, a celebration.
We have been also really lucky that the community in Moscow has really stepped up, and we've had different centers, churches, businesses that have said, you know, we can support you this way or another.
Meanwhile, similar efforts are underway for Boise State students.
It's been a really beautiful thing that's been showcased throughout this process.
Esperanza Aguilera, who graduated with her master's degree in 2023, is now leading efforts to continue the celebratory tradition for Latinx students. She launched a GoFundMe and says within days, she nearly reached her fundraising goal.
I was kind of numb and holding back tears at first, just seeing how quickly and how passionately people showed up. I think it's just very telling that celebrating each other is meaningful and uplifting each other is joyful, which is what we've been centering. And I think it's just a reminder to focus on what we can control, and we're able to control how we show up, what we contribute to.
She says Latinx students will still be given an identity and cultural-based stole to take with them,
where students will have the opportunity to walk across the stage and be courted by their support people. And then we'll have music, food, and just intentional time to connect and celebrate.
Aguilera says she's grateful to all that have stepped up to help.
The ability to celebrate and uplift one another is really impactful.
There's also a student-led GoFundMe by a member of the Associated Students of BSU that was raising money specifically for identity and cultural-based stoles for all groups that were previously honored at BSU's identity and culture-based stole ceremonies. That GoFundMe has since stopped taking donations.
Okay.
It's unclear at this time if they raised the amount of funds they needed to get everyone their stoles or if it came down for different reasons. We're still trying to get answers on that. I do want to add some content about these celebrations, specifically at the University of Idaho. This was one celebration with all of the DEI units coming together for one celebration.
Okay.
Whereas Boise State, it was these individual units doing their own celebration. So a little different, but both similar to doing celebrations.
Well, that makes me want to ask, because I know during these budget hearings over these last several years at the legislature, we heard people reading off, okay, what's this black commencement or this black graduation or this Latino graduation?
Yeah.
Explain that a little bit.
Yeah, and I was intentional on using the word celebration, not ceremony. These groups say they're not graduation ceremonies, rather a time for these groups to come together at the end of their time at the college to celebrate with each other, with their family, have some dinner, get a cord. A little different than the typical commencement that happens for the entire school. Right, because their argument then was that it was exclusionary. It was separating the two or the groups and that kind of stuff. So obviously that's not the same thing. Yeah. All right, thank you very much, Aspen. Do those go on, by the way? Do what go on?
Are they still having those celebrations? I'm sorry.
Okay, good question. They are still having celebrations. It's unclear how many. University of Idaho is doing one big celebration. BSU kind of getting individual. We're unclear if that means all. Latinx, yes, as of now.
You did mention that. Thank you very much. Sorry.